Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have hired former CIA agents with a proven track record of lying to the public, gaslighting the public.
Blake Lively just made a wild move in her ongoing legal fight with Justin Baldoni, and honestly it screams pure hypocrisy, because she went ahead and brought in a pricey ex-CIA operative to try rescuing her rapidly falling public image from the mess surrounding her.
It's absurd that they were going to this level.
And as we know, those operatives will go to extreme lengths to shape narrative, but no matter which tactic she tries, her government-backed PR strategist will not stand chance against Brian Fredman in court.
News: Justin Baldoni just got a big win, meaning Blake Lively got a big loss. Are her lawyers dumb? Like, what's happening? Why do they keep making these mistakes and fumbling the ball like this?
Blake Lively's legal fight with Justin Baldoni has basically spiraled into what many are calling one of Hollywood's biggest punchlines, because what began as a serious lawsuit now looks more like a messy public relations war where she doesn't just appear to be struggling legally, but also seems to be damaging her own image in full public view.
I need to know who they were retaliating.
The actress, who once saw herself as America's sweetheart, is now frantically launching every legal outburst imaginable, hoping to get anything to stick to Baldoni, and surprise, absolutely none of it is working.
I mean, is it not a little hypocritical? Is this a bad look of her if she's trying to tell the courts that we should stop talking about this in public?
Blake is not just losing, she's losing spectacularly. The more she pushes, the more she seems to expose herself as a manipulative Hollywood actress who thought she could use the legal system as revenge tool.
Despicable and a massive hypocrite.
But now a harsh reality check seems to have landed, and Judge Louis Lyman has forcefully shut down arguments from her legal team, delivering a moment that makes their position look seriously weakened in court.
This sort of like Blake complaining that they're evading the privacy, they're doing all this, but then meanwhile, right, she's on Saturday Night Live with Ryan making jokes, hitting back. I mean, is it not a little hypocritical? Is this a bad look of her if she's trying to tell the courts that we should stop talking about this?
The newest court decision felt less like a victory for her side and more like a sharp judicial pushback, as Lev's attorneys charged in aggressively demanding that Baldoni's entire personal history be turned over, from phone calls and text messages to detailed location records covering basically every place he has been since 2022.
Blake was trying to basically ask for like 2.5 years worth of cell phone records, everything, location, all this data, which felt very...
Yes. Even reaching back to 2022, which critics say clashes with her own claim that any alleged retaliation began in August 2020, making the legal strategy look inconsistent at best. And when you look at the subpoena itself, it comes off as extremely broad, with her team asking Baldoni's phone provider to hand over call logs, text records, and even location data stretching across more than 2 full years. A scope that many observers see as excessive rather than narrowly focused on the dispute.
He basically said, listen, it's ridiculous that you're asking for all this stuff because you're asking for 2.5 years, but you claim the retaliation started in August of this summer.
And it wasn't just Baldoni's records. They were also demanding private information from PR executives, company leaders, and even Baldoni's own doctor. Yes, his doctor, as if routine annual checkups could somehow reveal some hidden Hollywood conspiracy aimed at Blake Lively.
Baldoni, you're right. We have squashed the subpoena. The reach was too big, and therefore they agreed that the ruling, they squashed the extent to seek the phone records of Wayfair. The ruling is without prejudice. Live parties, several modified subpoena.
Judge Lyman wasn't having any of it. He eyed the whole circus side and slammed the subpoena for being ridiculously broad and completely unnecessary, even labeling it overly intrusive and disproportionate. Basically, the legal way of saying, what on earth are you even asking for?
They said they were going to get rid of the request to the extent it said all documents related to blank, and they just wanted the phone records. And the court said no. The court said that could include therapists, doctors, friends, colleagues, business people. It's way too broad.
Lively's team came in aiming for a huge win, but ended up leaving looking like total amateurs, with even legal expert Greg Dissett shaking his head at how absurd her strategy was, flat out calling it a swing and a miss, which is just a polite way of saying, Blake, you really embarrassed yourself.
What he did is he sent him back to the drawing board and said, you gotta go meet and confer again. You could serve a more narrowly tailored subpoena, but you haven't done it here.
And let's be real, Lively's legal team is a complete mess, fumbling harder than a toddler taking its first steps. She claims Baldoni started a smear campaign in 2024, yet demanded records from 2022, And even the judge highlighted this glaring contradiction, essentially calling out how weak her entire case is. Because when you mess up the basic timeline in your lawsuit, you're asking for every L that comes your way.
It's truly a win for Justin and a loss for Blake.
Absolutely a win for Justin, and you're absolutely right, Andy, in your interpretation of the document. What they said is basically, they told you to go, you have to go meet and confer, and see even come up with more narrow requests.
But of course, Blake wasn't about to take this L quietly. Instead of hiring competent lawyers or actually building a solid case, she did what every cornered Hollywood starlet seems to do. She brought in a government-trained propagandist to try and clean up her mess.
He's absolutely right there. They are trying to keep some evidence out of the public eye.
Yes, let's talk about Nick Shapiro, the former CIA deputy chief of staff who has since moved into crisis PR work. Because when situations spiral, what choice do you make? You hire someone experienced in national security communications and high-level media strategy, and critics say looks questionable, since bringing in an ex-intelligence official can feel less like transparency and like damage control optics.
Foremost, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have hired former CIA agents with a proven track record of lying to the public, gaslighting the public.
Nick Shapiro isn't just any PR figure. He previously served under former CIA Director John Brennan and later moved into communications roles tied to national security, and critics point to his involvement among the 51 former intelligence officials who signed the 2020 letter, suggesting the Hunter Biden laptop story had hallmarks of disinformation, a move that remains heavily debated. So skeptics argue that bringing in someone with that background to manage Blake Lively's image feels controversial, questioning whether it signals transparency or simply high-level damage control, and doubting it will suddenly make her look like a victim in the public eye.
Quietly working with Nick Shapiro, the CIA's former deputy chief of staff and senior advisor to former director John Brennan. So this guy, high up, just about as high up as you could possibly get.
But let's slow that down a bit, saying she hired him specifically to silence journalists or bury press crosses into claims about secret, illegal behavior, and unless that's been proven publicly, it's safer to frame it as optics and strategy rather than a cover-up. From a public narrative point of view, bringing in a high-profile crisis communications figure can look like an attempt to regain message control and reshape perception during a messy dispute, which critics may see as aggressive spin, while supporters would call it standard reputation management in high-stakes situations. But labeling it outright media manipulation or suppression is an allegation, not a confirmed fact.
Sort of take out, smear, and destroy the reputations of people that they don't like, or people perhaps that their clients don't like. But the question is, who do they do that on behalf of?
It can definitely look that way from the outside, especially when a legal fight spills into the public arena and suddenly crisis comms people show up. But saying someone is deliberately deceiving the public or hiding that they're losing steps into claims about intent and secret wrongdoing that aren't things we can state as facts. A more grounded way to put it is that when reputations are on the line, high-profile figures often run two tracks at once: legal strategy in court and image strategy in the media, and critics interpret that as spin, while their side would frame it as protecting their name during a dispute. So what you're really pointing out is the contrast between courtroom performance and public relations optics, which is fair to debate, just without presenting and proven motives as certainty.
Headline right now in Variety. It reads that Blake Lively hires CIA alum for crisis PR in legal battle with justice.
Candace Owens completely tore apart Lively's weak attempt at PR damage control, openly stating that Nick Shapiro isn't just a PR agent, but a government propaganda expert. And that's precisely why Blake brought him in, not to strengthen her case, but to manage and control the media narrative surrounding it.
I mean, that first subpoena, as you pointed out when we talked on our prior show, it was massively overbroad. It basically asked for everything under the sun, and it was crazy. And it was never going to get granted in full. So I'm surprised they didn't back off and try to do a little more tailored at the beginning.
And the funniest part is that it's completely backfiring. Hollywood is seeing right through Lively's tactics. The public is turning against her faster than she anticipated. And each time her absurd legal strategy backfires, she only ends up looking guiltier.
The judge makes a point of like, well, then why do you need 2 years worth? In her own suit, she alleges this campaign started in August. So why the reach for 2.5 years? Was nice to see the judge really sort of acknowledge that. Blake
Lively thought she was playing chess, But at this point, she's barely playing checkers. Hiring Nick Shapiro only made her look worse. Failing to obtain Baldoni's phone and record logs just proves she has no solid evidence. And the more her legal team embarrasses themselves in court, the clearer it becomes that she is nothing.
Anyone else seeing the gaslighting from Blake and Ryan, constantly trying to just wave things that we've seen with our own minds and pretend like they didn't happen?
Let's not forget the massive lawsuits looming over her, with Baldoni suing her and Ryan Reynolds for $400 million, accusing them of defamation and extortion, while the New York Times is facing a $250 million suit for publishing a hit piece that was almost certainly influenced by Lively's team.
A massive part of the CIA's job, really the most important part of the CIA's job, is managing public relations, because we, the people, wouldn't agree to go to war unless they sold that idea to us. They need a crisis.
And now, with Judge Lyman shredding her subpoena request, Baldoni's case against her looks stronger than ever. What began with Lively thinking she could ruin Baldoni's career is now turning into a situation where she might be the one left with her career in jeopardy once this is all over.
Thinks this is okay and like proudly displaying us, we're women, so we can just lie and cheat and steal our way into control these big movies. I mean, how disturbing is this to you?
Blake Lively's perceived hypocrisy feels almost unbelievable at this stage, because back in 2020 she appeared to mock Justin Baldoni for bringing in crisis PR professionals before their film's release, suggesting he looked like a desperate celebrity trying to repair his image. Yet by 2024, critics note she also turned to a former intelligence-linked communications figure, which to some observers looks like the same reputation management she once questioned, making the contrast seem ironic as she works to steady her own situation now.
Live with Ryan making jokes, hitting back. I mean, is it not a little hypocritical? Is this a bad look of her if she's trying to tell the courts that we should stop talking about this in public?
This woman really thought no one would notice, but the internet doesn't forget, and neither does the public. She mocked Baldoni for trying to control a media narrative, yet now she's the one leaning on her Hollywood friends for sympathy and seeding hit pieces in the press. And let's not overlook how desperate she and Ryan Reynolds appear. These two even went on SNL and tried to joke about the lawsuit, as if turning a court loss into a comedy sketch somehow helps.
Blake Lively is caught in old footage, revealing that yes, her secret plan is to always take control of the movies and lie to the director.
But here's the problem. You can't play victim and bully at the same time. Lively is out there demanding Baldoni stop speaking about the case, claiming it's unfair for him to talk. Yet she's using her huge Hollywood network to push the poor Blake narrative through friendly media outlets. What kind of backwards logic is that?
That's what she has told people in interviews. She's opened up about the fact that she struggles for equality, all of the struggles that she faces on behalf of trying to stand up as a...
She thought hiring Nick Shapiro would be a power move, but it totally backfired, because now instead of seeming like a victim, she comes across as someone orchestrating a cover-up. If you really have nothing to hide, why bring in a CIA-trained operative to run your PR? Baldoni hired a standard crisis PR consultant, someone who actually works in Hollywood, while Lively brought in a man specialized in government propaganda, and the overkill is just embarrassing.
It was a really strange position to be in, because I felt like I don't want to just like be an actor. Like I want to, I want to have more authorship.
And guess what? The public isn't buying it. The more she tries to twist the narrative, the more people see how fake and manipulative she is. And instead of appearing like a woman fighting for justice, she comes across as someone trying to ruin a man's life simply because he pushed back, with the hypocrisy so obvious it's destroying what little credibility she has left.
Judge in Blake Lively's case just slapped down their psychopathic request for 2.5 years worth of every message that Justin Baldoni and Justin Heath and the PR agents have ever sent to everybody, plus location data. We knew that was going to happen.
Meanwhile, Baldoni isn't just defending himself. He's hitting back with a $400 million lawsuit, going after both Blake and Ryan Reynolds for defamation and extortion, because this whole situation reads like a massive Hollywood power play gone wrong. He claims Lively falsely accused him of sexual harassment to ruin his career and is seeking huge damages for lost career opportunities and emotional distress. And as for Lively's case, it looks painfully weak. She alleges Baldoni started a smear campaign in August 2024, Yet when she tried to subpoena his phone records to prove it, the judge shut her down completely due to having zero evidence.
Lively asked judge for stronger protective order to keep Justin Baldoni suit details private after receiving violent messages. They go to there. They are really trying to keep the evidence out of the public eye, it would seem. Yeah, he's right.
Judge Lewis Lyman didn't just deny her subpoenas. He outright exposed how weak her entire argument is, essentially pointing out that if this alleged campaign against her didn't start until August 2020, why is she demanding phone records from 2022? She couldn't even keep her own timeline straight, and when the judge questions the logic of your case, you've already lost. This ruling wasn't just a loss, it was a disaster for Lively. The court is now seeing what Baldoni has been arguing all along. This lawsuit isn't about justice, it's about revenge. The subpoena denials prove she has no real case, and instead of producing evidence, she's been trying to dig up dirt with overly broad legal demands, and the court made it crystal clear she's not getting away with it.
They're swift. I've all been sort of inserted on this, thanks to you, Blake. And now it's gone against Justin, which Justin disputes and said that's not true. So when you get this information, or if your co-stars end up not supporting you, that all is private? And then what? We don't get to know that? No.
And if she loses, she's in serious trouble. She could be on the hook for millions in legal fees and potential damages. And let's be real, Hollywood isn't going to keep shielding her if she loses a $400 million lawsuit.
He was not actually a party to the suit. Well, she will be able now to receive his messages for 4 months, to be able to see if phone calls took place for 4 months. And of course they did, because they hired him.
But the lawsuits don't stop there. This whole case has exploded into one of Hollywood's biggest PR scandals, with the New York Times right in the middle. Lively needed a major news outlet to push her victim narrative. So enter Megan Tu, the journalist who published a hit piece against Baldoni without verified evidence, and now the New York Times is facing a $250 million legal suit. The real kicker? Leaked audio from WME CEO Ari Emanuel exposed the Hollywood machine at work. This is the guy who manages some of the biggest names in the industry, and in the recording, he confirmed what Baldoni suspected all along. Ryan Reynolds pressured WME to drop him.
And let the process play itself out. These are good people that have been in the business for decades and have never had any bad press about them. And all the people they work with like them. And so, is this true what they're saying in that allegation? These are two bad guys.
Reynolds and Lively are being portrayed as using their Hollywood influence to sideline Baldoni behind the scenes while publicly framing their actions as standing up for justice, which critics describe as serious career sabotage. And the controversy is unfolding in real time as more claims and counterclaims come into the spotlight. In Toro, 33. Candace Owens didn't hold back either, calling out the entire shady operation and saying this is proof that Lively and Reynolds are playing dirty behind closed doors, and she's right. Every move Lively has made in this case screams manipulation.
Ryan Reynolds went in there and said he wanted him dropped from WME, and somebody at WME who just outed himself made it happen. And that's Ari Emanuel, the CEO of WME, is now bragging that he dropped them, and he says his reason is because he's ride or die.
She's being accused of pushing media narratives against Baldoni, bringing in a former government-linked communications figure to help manage the story, attempting to use legal channels to access parts of Baldoni's private life. And when those efforts fell short, critics say she leaned on Hollywood connections in ways they view as attempts to sideline his career.
Assign guilt to men, and it's sickening. It's sickening. And as a thinking person, we should have waited for the facts. Like, Justin has already been fired from so many things.
The worst part is that it's all collapsing. Her subpoena attempts failed, her PR stunt with Nick Shapiro backfired, and now Baldoni's lawsuits are looking stronger than ever. Blake Lively set out to ruin Baldoni's career, but she might have ended up destroying her own.
My brother from another mother, and you're messing with my cousin, and I'm pregnant.
It Ends With Us was meant to be a career-defining movie for Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, but instead it spiraled into one of Hollywood's messiest feuds in years, sparking lawsuits, PR disasters, and a full-blown legal battle. Even though the movie itself was a massive success, grossing $351 million worldwide on a modest $25 million budget. A financial triumph that should have been a win for everyone involved.
Say, like, we are allowed to have confidentiality because this is an SH claim, and therefore it's so important that it must be secret. We must control and protect everyone.
But of course, Blake Lively had to ruin it. Instead of basking in the film's success, she turned it into a battlefield, dragging Baldoni, her own husband, and even Hollywood executives into her personal revenge mission, a textbook case of self-sabotage.
A terrible look for Blake and Ryan Reynolds, but these two seem to be very intent on making every wrong move, in my opinion. Like, they truly believe they are too rich and too connected to have to face any responsibility for their lives. They're just going to hire people who are more immoral than them to handle it.
Behind the scenes, the tension was palpable. Lively and Baldoni couldn't even pretend to get along for the cameras. They were supposed to promote the movie together, attend red carpets, and do joint press events, but instead they avoided each other like the plague. PR insiders had sensed trouble long before the lawsuits emerged. When two leads in a major film refuse to be seen together, it's obvious something is off. Lively wasn't just difficult. She was laying the groundwork for a full-blown war.
Nuts? Are you nuts? You made this a public battle, and now it is a public battle, and Justin has every right to fight this publicly to clear his name.
And here's the kicker. This disaster isn't just hurting her. It's affecting Ryan Reynolds, too. Hollywood is all about optics, and Reynolds' reputation is now tangled in Lively's legal mess. Executives hate drama that spills into the press, and with the entire industry watching this lawsuit unfold, the big question is whether Lively will even get cast in major films again. If you were a producer, would you want to work with someone who sues their co-stars and hires CIA-trained operatives to manage PR disasters? Probably not.
And Ryan Reynolds have hired him because he has proven that he is willing to lie without flinching, that he will straight up lie to protect his clients, he will lie to gaslight the public, and he has proven successful under that model.
At this point, the only thing keeping Lively relevant is the lawsuit itself, but the problem is she's losing badly. With subpoena failures, her credibility is collapsing both in the courtroom and within the industry. Knowing how desperate she is, her lawyers will probably try again, even after Judge Lyman tore her arguments apart. So don't be surprised if she returns with another round of subpoenas, attempting to force Baldoni to hand over anything that could be twisted into a gotcha moment.
Hold on, Blake. You published his text messages in a complaint that wasn't even a lawsuit, and then gave it to the New York Times before you filed it officially. You're despicable and a massive hypocrite.
But here's the problem. Baldoni's $400 million defamation and extortion lawsuit is gaining momentum, and it's not just moving forward. It's looking stronger by the day. If Lively loses, she's in serious financial trouble, and let's be real, she's not a self-made billionaire. She and Reynolds have money, sure, but the moment Baldoni wins, it's game over for Lively, and the PR battle is already lost.
Just the complaint. You published it to the New York Times, and you defamed him and disparaged him, and he disagrees with you. I don't agree that all SH claims moving forward should be put in a silent, quiet chamber where we must believe the woman. Are you nuts? Are you nuts?
From the second she brought in Nick Shapiro, the CIA-linked PR fixer, she torpedoed her own public image. You don't hire a literal intelligence operative unless you have something to hide, and instead of appearing sympathetic, she came across as a manipulative actress trying to control the media. Hollywood executives aren't blind. They see what's happening, and nobody wants to work with a liability.
You want to have all the abilities to go online, defend yourself, publicly mock, do whatever you want, but when you want it to be private, you just get to decide that it's not how.
The most unexpected twist? Taylor Swift might get pulled into this dumpster fire next. Yes, Taylor Swift, the world's biggest pop star, the woman who can turn any headline into a cultural moment. If Baldoni subpoenas Swift, things could escalate to a level that Lively is absolutely not prepared to handle.
Swift is going to be subpoenaed for sure. I think there's going to be others who have been known, anybody who they know that the PR people talk to, any people that they know that Baldoni talked to regarding PR. What they're going to have to do is come forward with a list of, here are the people that we think have relevant or potentially relevant information.
Lively and Swift are close friends, so it wouldn't be surprising if they exchanged texts about the lawsuit. If Swift gets pulled in, the media focus could shift completely, taking this case far beyond Hollywood circles. But what's already clear is that Lively destroyed her own case. This wasn't Baldoni outplaying her. She outplayed herself. Her legal strategy is a total disaster. Judge Lyman humiliated her lawyers in court, making it crystal clear that her subpoenas were absurd and legally unsound. She tried to force an invasion of Baldoni's privacy, but the judge saw right through it.
Now you're complaining about privacy? Oh, this is such an important private matter. You were on Saturday Night Live letting your husband make a mockery of your whole thing. Oh, is there something that's going on? Yeah, there's something going on.
Her PR tactics somehow made things even worse. Hiring a CIA-linked crisis manager was a huge mistake. The public isn't stupid. They can see when a celebrity is trying to manipulate the press, and Lively failed spectacularly. Instead of looking like a victim, she looks guilty as hell. Meanwhile, Baldoni is racking up legal wins. His $400 million lawsuit against Lively and Reynolds is strong, and his $250 million suit against the New York Times is moving forward. The judge completely shut down Lively's weak legal arguments. She thought she could bully her way through the system, but it's all falling apart. The Hollywood power players who once had her back? Yeah, they're slowly stepping away. Nobody wants to stick too close to a sinking ship. Blake Lively tried to take down Justin Baldoni, but she ended up taking herself down. Hit that subscribe button, because Blake's downfall is just getting started, and you don't want to miss a second of this Hollywood disaster.